Welcome, students. Look, I completely get the thrill of having a brilliant new business idea. You've got the passion, you've got the vision, and you're just ready to go out there and change the world. But hey, before we dive headfirst into launching your dream venture, we really need a reality check. Welcome to this explainer. Today, I'm putting on my mentor hat to walk you through what is literally the most essential first step of any successful business, the feasibility study.
So, should your proposed project be pursued, revised, postponed, or maybe just flat out rejected? This right here is the central, absolutely critical question every single feasibility study aims to answer, and that's before a single dollar or hour is committed to a project. As your mentor, I want you to burn this into your memory. A feasibility study isn't just some academic hoop you jump through to get a passing grade. No, it's a vital decision-making tool. It is a systematic, forward-looking investigation to figure out if your proposed business is actually practical, viable, and worth implementing out in the real world.
Here is a roadmap for today's mentorship session. We're going from core concepts all the way to practical application. We'll be covering, before you start your business, the dimensions of feasibility. Feasibility versus business plan, a case study on EcoCup Cafe, avoiding common student mistakes, and finally, the ethical entrepreneur. Let's get right into it with Section 1, before you start your business and avoiding those early failures. So why do so many incredibly innovative ideas just never survive in the real world? Well, an idea might sound absolutely amazing in your head, but without proper, evidence-based analysis, it's incredibly vulnerable to some pretty fatal pitfalls. We're talking weak market demand, crazy high operating costs, a terrible location, or honestly, just a simple lack of technical capability. See, a lot of businesses fail not because the initial concept was necessarily bad, but because the owners relied entirely on their gut intuition and their excitement. They basically failed to study the market, the day-to-day operations, and the risks before hitting go. By identifying these risks early on through a comprehensive study, you can either revise the project or come up with solid risk reduction strategies before it's too late. To protect yourself from that kind of failure, a feasibility study breaks your idea down into 5 fundamental criteria. First, is it possible? Like, can it actually be produced or delivered? Second, is it practical, with the capital and resources you actually have available right now? Third, is it profitable enough to generate a worthwhile return on your investment? Fourth, is it sustainable over time, or is it just some fleeting trend that's going to die out? And finally, is it acceptable? Meaning, is it legally, socially, and ethically appropriate? You absolutely need strong answers to all of these before you even think about moving forward. Moving right along to Section 2, the dimensions of feasibility, where we evaluate every single angle. Evaluating an idea means you have to look through multiple lenses. Because here's the thing, a business might be totally feasible in one area but a complete disaster in another. Take market feasibility. That's arguably the most important one. Without customers, your business literally cannot survive. So you have to ask, is there a real, proven need here? Then there's technical feasibility, which looks at the equipment. If you're opening a bakery, do you actually have access to the right commercial ovens and the production capacity? Management feasibility evaluates if you have the right people and structure in place. Because honestly, a great idea fails super fast under incompetent leadership. Financial feasibility asks the big money question. Can you cover your costs and actually hit your break-even point? And finally, legal feasibility checks if you can secure the necessary permits and licenses to operate entirely above board. Every single one of these dimensions must be satisfied. Okay, Section 3, feasibility versus business plan. It's all about evaluation versus execution. Let's clear up a major point of confusion I see with students all the time. The crucial difference between these two things is all about the order. You absolutely must evaluate if the idea is viable before you waste time planning exactly how to run it. For example, if you propose a student laundry service, the feasibility study has to come first. It's an evaluation tool that examines if students actually need the service, how much they're willing to pay, and what equipment you'd need. It's strictly for evaluation. If, and only if, that study proves the project is viable, then you move on to the business plan. The business plan is your implementation tool. That's where you detail exactly how you're going to launch, market, and manage that laundry service on a day-to-day basis. Remember, evaluation always precedes implementation. Let's jump into Section 4, our case study on EcoCup Cafe. We're putting a green idea to the test. Let's look at a practical example to see exactly how this multidimensional evaluation works in the real world. Imagine this pitch from our hypothetical students. EcoCup Cafe, a business selling affordable coffee and snacks using reusable cups and eco-friendly packaging. Sounds like a fantastic, super trendy concept, right? It ticks all the boxes for modern sustainability. But
As your mentor, I'd have to tell you that enthusiasm just isn't enough. We need to test it thoroughly. We simply cannot launch a business based on good intentions alone.
By evaluating EcoCup across our specific dimensions, the students can make a real, data-driven decision on whether to pursue, revise, or just reject the cafe idea entirely. For the market aspect, they can't just sit in their dorm. They have to step out of the classroom and actually survey real students and nearby employees to prove there's a demand at their specific price point. Technically, they need to figure out how to source the right commercial coffee machines and calculate a totally realistic daily capacity. On the management side, who is actually running this thing? They need clear, actionable duties for student employees who are already juggling classes. Financially, they have to map out the startup capital, project their sales accurately without wearing rose-colored glasses, and find the exact break-even point. And for the socio-environmental dimension, they have to measure the true impact of that sustainable packaging and waste reduction. It's only after rigorously analyzing all these areas that they can make a responsible decision.
That brings us to Section 5, avoiding common student mistakes so you don't fall into the usual traps. Having seen countless students build these studies over the years, I want to warn you about the pitfalls you are most likely to face. The absolute most crucial point here is prioritizing evidence over assumption. If you rely on assumptions instead of actual surveys, or you overestimate your sales with wishful thinking, your entire study becomes a work of fiction. It stops being a vital decision-making tool. Please, do not just write "many people will buy our product" without actual hard data to back it up. You also have to watch out for underestimating those hidden costs. Students almost always forget things like permits, utilities, or equipment maintenance. Also, you absolutely cannot ignore stronger or cheaper competition. If the coffee shop down the street is way cheaper and already established, exactly how are you going to compete? Delivering a weak financial analysis is another huge red flag. And finally, failing to provide a clear evidence-based recommendation. You have to tell me straight up if it should be pursued, modified, or rejected. Don't leave your reader guessing at the very end.
Finally, Section 6, the ethical entrepreneur and the importance of honest evaluations.
To wrap things up, we really have to discuss the ethical responsibilities that come with conducting this research and preparing to launch a venture. Responsible entrepreneurship means you absolutely do not manipulate your data just to get a passing grade or to trick an investor into giving you funding. You must present accurate data and report both the positive and the negative findings honestly. Yes, even if it means admitting the idea just won't work. Fabricating survey results or plagiarizing research? That is an absolute failure of your duty as an entrepreneur. Beyond just the numbers, you really have to consider the broader impacts of your business. Will it actually benefit the community? Are you prioritizing customer safety and employee welfare? Modern feasibility studies demand that you consider sustainability and responsible practices, not just your bottom line.
I want to leave you with this quote, which is your ultimate takeaway for today. A feasibility study should not be used to justify a weak idea. Its purpose is to reveal the truth. I love this because it perfectly sums up everything we've talked about. Your job is discovery, not justification. Don't fall so deeply in love with your initial concept that you totally blind yourself to the facts. You have to let the data, the surveys, and the financial models guide you to the honest truth about your project.
So now that you have the tools to separate assumptions from real evidence, I challenge you to put your next great concept to the test. Will it survive the rigorous, analytical, and multidimensional process we just covered? Will you have the courage to let the data reveal the truth? Bottom line, is your next big idea actually worth pursuing? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I genuinely look forward to seeing the incredible and entirely feasible businesses you all build in the future.